we're in good hands. Looking at the younger generation participation and what's going on. I know some of you in this room and think very highly of you, and I'm glad that you are a part of this. It's very important to be involved with the chamber, involved with the city, and even though the transformation didn't take place, I really feel there's a reason for it, and time for us to regroup and get going again. So hopefully everybody's up for that, and you're the ones that are going to lead, so I think that's very exciting. Ken did ask me to talk about my international background and then talk about the missions that we do at Helias. I was born in Brazil, 1961. My whole family were all Brazilian. All my cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody's still in Brazil. But my immediate family, we moved here. Back in '66, my father is a physician. He's a doctor. He's an oncologist, hematologist. And he had an opportunity to leave his practice in Brazil and come to work at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So when I was a little guy, I was 5 years old, we left Brazil and we moved to the United States. So I'm very fortunate. I was told one time by somebody that if you're fortunate enough to be born in this country, you need to thank God for that. And I need to thank God. Brazil's a great country and I love it, and I'm actually going back next week to visit. But this country here is special, and I thank God that my parents had the foresight to come here and move the family here to this country. There's no other place like it. I'm a product of the public and Catholic schools in Memphis. I went to public school all the way to high school, and then I went to Christian Brothers High School in Memphis. And as far as universities also, I'm a product of the public university and private. I have a master's and undergrad from the University of Memphis and a master's degree from Christian Brothers University. My wife, Kelly, works at Jefferson Bank. My son is at the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas. He's in the honors program down there. And my daughter is a senior at Helias, and her future, I'll tell you a little bit about it as we go on with the presentations. In Memphis, I was at Christian Brothers High School, not only as a student, but later on as a teacher, administrator, coach, did everything there. And one of the highlights of my career is I was asked to open an inner-city Catholic school for the Diocese of Memphis. And I was able to do that. At that time, where I opened the school, it was the poorest zip code in the state of Tennessee. That was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. Be able to go there, open the school, renovate it, recruit the kids, bring them in, and start an elementary school in inner-city Memphis. If you don't know Memphis, Memphis is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. I love it. It's also a very violent place. Just like St. Louis, places that you don't want to be. Where we opened a school, that was where you didn't want to be. So I felt like I did the most good in my life there in Memphis at Holy Names. I want to get to the missions part because more and more of what I hear about on the streets of Jefferson City about Helias is the mission work that we're doing. And that just happened. I didn't know that it would grow like that, and I didn't know that it would have that impact. But there are many things that led me to start missions and do the mission work at Helias. And I wish I had pictures. If I'd have known that Gus was going to have this, I'd have had pictures of the mission work going on. So, and since Gus is here, we are at Helias Catholic Twitter and Helias Catholic High School on Facebook. So look that up.
It's on the screen too there, D.
Oh, do you have it up there?
Yeah, it'll come
I should have
up.
known. Thanks for doing that.
Right there.
There you go. And I'm on there too. So I actually like Twitter. Facebook is seems like a lot of work. Twitter's a lot of fun. But anyway, getting back to this, we're finding out more and more the impact that the missions are having on the kids, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But my development as far as what has happened to me in my life where I want to do mission work, where I stress to the kids it's important to do mission work. There are a lot of things that we do, but there are things that happen in my life that have really formed my work towards mission. The first one being my father was the first oncologist at St. Jude. The guy was like a Doogie Howser. He was a doctor at the age of 22. He had a lucrative practice in Brazil. He basically had financially anything he wanted. But he chose to give all that up to go work at a non-profit hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. He gave up what he could have had for something that he really wanted. He wanted to make a difference in the world. He wanted to save kids' lives. He wanted to do more than go to work, come home, and, he wanted to make an impact, and he did. But I don't think he realized in the process what he taught his kids. There are 5 of us. What he taught us by giving up a lot to go work at St. Jude. And you have to understand, St. Jude, when it first started with Danny Thomas, and I don't know if you guys know Danny Thomas, but I was a little kid and I got to meet Danny Thomas. There wasn't much money there, but those doctors came from all over the world. They didn't care. They wanted to make a difference. There's a second thing that really affected my life, and it's my mom. I usually get emotional when I talk about this, but when we were little kids, and if you've ever been to another country, you know that there's a lot of poverty. There are a lot of beggars. There are a lot of street kids. No fault of their own. I mean, that's just the way. It's just the way of the world. In this country, it's a lot different. But those kids used to come up and they would see my mom with 5 kids, and they would come up and they would beg from her. They would want money. But my mom was very different. And she would get the kids and she would take them to, in Brazil, there's a little corner restaurant or a little corner bar where everybody goes to eat. And she would get those kids and she would take them there. And instead of giving them money or giving them whatever, she would make them sit down. She would buy a meal for them. And then she would tip the guy and say, make sure they eat every bit of this. And she would tell the kids, you're going to eat this and you're not moving till you eat. Well, these kids, if they had a mom, they probably didn't have much of a mom. So they would just look at my mom and they would see the love she had for them and making sure that they were okay. And I'm like transported just telling a story, just watching my mom do this. That's why I get emotional. It was pretty neat. What she taught me by taking care of that little kid or that little kid. She didn't give them money so they could go do other stuff. She gave them food. But she also showed them love. And that's kind of the Mother Teresa thing. Compassion, love. Those are 2 big things that happened in my life to make me want to do missions. Another one is this. When I worked at Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, they had mission trips there. And I coached football. I coached soccer. I did a lot of other stuff. So when it came time for missions, I couldn't go. All these other teachers were taking kids on missions. And I would watch them go, and I would watch them come back. And after every mission trip the kids did, you could see a difference in them. They came back, they were happier. They were smiling. They were changed people. You could see better kids coming back. And I would sit there and watch these kids, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. But something else happened. Those teachers that took the kids, they came back different. They came back more positive, more faith-filled, happier, more in love with life. And I would see these changes year after year, and I wanted to be a part of it.